So a video that I saw not too long ago, or a YouTube short that I saw not too long ago, was about the OG Avengers versus the Invincibles of the Invincible War, and if they could really stop the Invincible War. And I want to state this pretty clearly, that it's like a consensus that the OG Avengers would definitely win, but how easily, or would there be any challenge within them actually winning? Now, for starters, I want to bring up this. This is an OG Avengers that has an Iron Man that doesn't have like some insanely crazy Iron Man suit. I'm not saying that the Mark 7 isn't absolutely insane, because it is and was for that time, but it's not like he has some sort of nanotech suit or some overpowered, overwhelming kind of suit. This is a Thor without Stormbreaker and without a lot of the experience that he would eventually get. And on top of that, this is a Hulk that is not Professor Hulk, not extremely intelligent, and would definitely go AWOL and go crazy and beat on things if he wanted to destroy things the way he wanted to do, aka smash things the way that Captain America wanted him to as well. And this includes Captain America, right? Someone who is pretty damn impressive in his own right, but obviously with a lot of time and experience, things get better for the group known as the Avengers, and that includes for Hawkeye and Black Widow. Now, I'm not going to say that Captain America isn't still going to be similar to his future counterpart, because we saw them fight. We saw a future version of Captain America fight a present, or whatever a past version of Captain America. So they're actually similar in strength, but obviously the future version will have more experience. And I feel like the easiest way to start this video and the easiest way to kind of begin it is to know and to say that the consensus is that they would win, but who would fall and what would happen throughout this entire war. Now, for starters, I want to start with Black Widow and Hawkeye, because they are kind of in the same boat here. The scary part about the two of them is that they could straight up die in the first couple seconds if they're not careful. If the Invincibles decide, hey, you know what? I don't like the way you look. I don't like the way you act. I don't like this. I don't like that. And they decide, I don't want to play games and I just want to eliminate you. They could definitely do that. We have seen an Omni-Invincible straight up break the leg of Adam Eve in one foul swoop. Like, literally one foul swoop. So it's not too far-fetched to think that there's a chance that someone like Black Widow or Hawkeye, if caught out in a bad situation, could potentially be eliminated and be, offed pretty damn quickly. Now, I'm not going to say flat out that that would happen, because, they're not powerhouses and they're not this or not that. But there is a chance that it could. But something to keep in mind is that the Invincible War itself isn't necessarily a large amount of beings. The Chitauri, right? If you swapped out, instead of the Chitauri showing up, you had the Invincible show up, you would have a different scenario. The Invincible War is accumulated of various versions of Mark Grayson, but it's not like countless numbers of Mark Graysons. It's not countless numbers of Invincibles. There's a limit to how many there are, and there's a limit to how many evil variants they could actually send the way of the OG Avengers. Yes, are they powerful? Yes, are they strong? And yes, are they capable? Of course, just to a certain extent. And the reason why I bring this up is because we don't know if they will actually team up the way they could. Now, could they potentially take out some of the Avengers by teaming up in like a massive amount of them, like in one go? They're superpowered beings. Keep that in mind. They're not weak. They're not, fragile necessarily. So the fact is, if they wanted to, or if they could potentially team up to basically take out one of these more higher level Avengers, they might be able to. There's a good chance they could potentially be able to. But with that said, there's no way that's happening. There's no way they're going to just go out of their way to team up like crazy and team up 5 versus 1, 6 versus 7, 8 versus 1 on like Thor or Hulk, which, spoiler alert, the people that are going to have the best chance here is definitely Thor, definitely Hulk, and then Iron Man and Captain America probably behind that, right? Obviously, Black Widow and Hawkeye, not so much. Black Widow especially if they don't know the weaknesses of these Invincibles, there's a good chance they both kick the bucket. But we know that Hawkeye has a lot of trick arrows, and we know some of these Invincibles are, not the best, and frankly are kind of mediocre. So there's a small likelihood that maybe he hits a sonic arrow or something along those lines, and it does some irreparable damage, like bad damage, and it actually takes out one of the Invincibles, maybe giving them kind of the knowledge for both of them to stay alive, that every time one of them gets somewhat even close, they have to use some sort of sonic device to take them out, or some sort of sonic device to give them a massive upper hand. But now with that said, those two have a good chance of kicking the bucket, but they also have a small chance of kind of like surviving throughout the Invincible War. I just don't think they would be the best option and the best chance at even defeating them, right? We can kind of go up from the list. I would have Captain America and Iron Man in a somewhat similar category, being that they both have abilities that would allow them to keep up and probably take out a couple Invincibles as long as they didn't get ganged up on to a large extent. But him and Iron Man, I can see them working together. We obviously know Captain America is a strategist, right? A heavy strategist. So we know that if he decides to, go on his own, probably wouldn't be the best choice of action, just given how strong these beings are. But him and Iron Man have shown to be a pretty good duo when it all matters. And frankly, they could definitely pull out some pretty crazy combos with the shield and his beam, and we could see some crazy ridiculous things happen with the Omni beam and stuff like that, right? These like his uni beam and his repulsors and stuff like that. Excuse me. Now, with that said, could they take out multiple? Right? Maybe not at once, but multiple. Most likely. I think Iron Man and Captain America are a good chance. I think they both have a really good chance, not only of surviving, but taking out multiple of these Invincibles, because they're not going to work together the way they need to. And Captain America is no joke in terms of physical capabilities, and Iron Man is no joke in terms of his suit. Shoot, imagine if Thor even hits Iron Man with a lightning blast. I mean, he would be able to take out some Invincibles. Maybe some of the stronger ones would survive and be able to tank it, but they would definitely be able to put up one hell of a fight just as a tandem of both Iron Man and obviously Captain America. But there's those other two that I haven't talked about. The other two that are absolutely no joke, and the other two that frankly would smack those Invincibles around like it was nobody's freaking business. Well, we got to start with the one and only, the Hulk. I mean, the Hulk is borderline unstoppable. I mean, yes, don't get me wrong. These Invincibles, they're not trained, and so is the Hulk. He's not trained either. But we saw what the Hulk did in Avengers 1, right? The Hulk did some crazy stuff. I mean, he straight up was able to smack a giant Chitauri ship and stop it in its tracks in one foul swoop. In literally one singular swoop. Just bang. And it absolutely crumbled. He stopped it with one fist. And I think we can all agree that it was one hell of a moment. And to stop something that big, that strong, and that kind of crazy, it would not be easy. It would be far from the idea of easy. And we have seen a Hulk on multiple occasions get more angry and angry and angry to the point where he's going to rip things to absolute shreds. And on top of that, let's just say he isn't strong enough to take on 3, maybe 4 of them at once, right? Defeat 4 Invincibles at once. Let's just say he couldn't, just for argument's sake. If he couldn't, he would eventually get mad enough because of, what the Invincibles are doing, what's going on, probably them smack talking, probably them hitting him. He's going to get mad enough to where he's going to close that distance and he's going to end all of them. It doesn't make a difference. Hulk will smack them around and absolutely slam them like there's no tomorrow. And quickly, the Invincibles would realize that they came to the wrong place. They thought they were coming here to mess with a Mark Grayson, take over this, do that, And they just got brought to the wrong freaking place, because not only do they have a giant green monster that is obsessively angry, that is smacking the absolute hell out of them, on top of that, you have this giant monster that is beating on them, destroying them, and making them feel absolutely useless. Like, they genuinely would feel useless in the face of Hulk himself. And it would be pretty obvious that the kind of difference between, the Hulk and those Invincibles is a pretty wide margin. A margin that probably cannot be encompassed, and a margin that cannot be stopped. And like I said, we saw Hulk destroy this kind of Chitauri army, like rip them to shreds. I mean, he just jumped into the army itself, immediately killing the soldiers, climbing buildings, destroying everything in his path, and it was no joke. And it definitely would be at the top of the list at who is the most capable and borderline the most unstoppable when it comes to the eventual arrival of the Invincible War. But he's not the only one. His rage and his regeneration and his strength make him such a formidable foe, maybe even enough to stop all the Invincibles if he so chose to do so. I mean, when you start saying, like, okay, all of them combined at the same time, would that be hard for Hulk? I think it would be a lot more difficult. I mean, there's a good chance he might even lose because he's just surprised in that kind of big group of Invincible variants. But at the same time, they're never going to do that. They're never going to do that. Like, there's just no way. And I'll talk about a different scenario at the end of this video that potentially could happen and would be pretty insane, but still would probably lead to the OG Avengers still winning. Now, with that said, let's go on to Thor. Thor is the god of thunder. Yes, in this universe, is he massively nerfed compared to the comics? 100%. Is he pretty nerfed in terms of, like, eventually where he gets to in the MCU? Of course. That is obviously the case when it comes to the god of thunder, Thor. But it doesn't change the fact that he still has full capabilities to utilize Mjolnir, something that cannot be lifted by someone who is not worthy, and and also something that can be used to literally control lightning, thunder, and it all itself. And on top of that, I mean, imagine if he just straight up said, all right, I'm going to place this hammer straight on an Invincible. What are they going to do about it? Their whole body will crumble. Their whole body will be destroyed. And on top of that, we have seen Thor and Iron Man and Captain America, all three of them, come up with their own like little combo moves that could definitely be beneficial in this kind of scenario, especially when dealing with, by the way, a lot less kind of creatures or aliens or whatever you want to call them, because guess what? They wouldn't be dealing with like hundreds or thousands of Chitauri warriors or soldiers and stuff like that. No, I know those aren't as strong as the Invincibles, but you cut that down massively. You have, yes, stronger beings, for sure, but you have beings that are a lot less. It's not like it's a giant army. We call the Invincible War kind of like Angstrom Levy's army of Invincibles, but I wouldn't even necessarily deem it as an army. Yes, it is a large group, but it's not large like your traditional army sense. It's not hundreds or thousands or even tens of thousands of warriors all at once, fighting and killing and doing all these crazy things. No. It's a group of Invincibles, 18, 19, from maybe even the 20s, right? It depends on what source material we're talking about, but it's kind of a wavering line of how many Invincible variants there truly was. But with that said, though, it's not like there's this giant group, an army of them, that would kind of cause for a ton of trouble and force a lot of these Avengers to be by themselves. Because if they were smart, or if the Invincibles were smart, they would be able to kind of conquer and divide pretty easily, kind of taking out the weaker versions of these Avengers and kind of pick them apart with large groups of them, right? Like 6 to 7 of the Invincibles just going in for the kill instantly. They could potentially have a chance, but like I said before, they're not doing that. They're never going to do that. their goal and their kind of mission was to just wreak havoc. So if their thing is just to wreak havoc, I mean, there's a good chance that if they get caught out alone by Iron Man, get caught out alone by Thor, get caught out alone by Hulk, they're going to get slammed into the ground and eliminated and killed quicker than their heads could possibly spin. And it wouldn't even matter. Like, they wouldn't even get a chance to, oh, we got to work together and do this. No. They would get absolutely destroyed, eliminated, out of there almost instantly if they are alone, if they aren't with a group of Invincibles. And like I said, there's no way that would be the case. They're not teaming up, and they're not a bunch of strategists to a large extent. The only person that has some sort of mind for that is Angstrom Levy. And that's where I want to get into this final part. Obviously, I truly believe if you want to know the answer to could the OG Avengers stop the Invincible War, it's 100% they could. It just depends on how many people are going to get hurt and how many people are going to fall. Is there a world where Black Widow and Hawkeye potentially die? Yes, there's a universe where that could occur. But they could hold their own against, maybe an Invincible with the proper preparation, maybe the proper arrows and kind of sonic type of weaponry. But there's still a chance they would fall. Now, with that said, we also have the idea of Angstrom Levy kind of bringing a different technology to this world and kind of maybe getting a hold of those Iron Man suits, maybe controlling or dismantling an Iron Man suit before you know it. And maybe Angstrom Levy has that type of intelligence, has that type of brilliance to shut down Tony Stark, or maybe give him a little bit of a run for his money. But I honestly believe at the end of the day, the OG Avengers wouldn't have much trouble with the Invincible War, and they wouldn't have much trouble even against someone that shows up like Conquest. Because if you put all the Avengers versus Conquest, it would be a pretty interesting fight, a pretty awesome one to watch. But honestly, I'd much rather watch a 1-versus-1 between him and Hulk, and it would be a pretty entertaining fight. But I think we all know the direction that fight would end up going, and we all know what would end up happening if the Invincible War invaded the OG Avengers. But with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. Make sure to show some love to the video. Also, leave your ideas in the comment section below. Sorry about that. Anything you believe. Do you believe that the OG Avengers actually would have lost? Do you believe like there was no chance they were going to lose? Do you believe that the Invincible War, would have put up a better fight? I would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. But with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you enjoyed this video, YouTube believes you'll enjoy this one. So might as well go check it out.